Calling the meeting to order. Paul. Miriam Plunder here. Judith Murphy not here. She was going to come online, but I don't see her. Megan Richards not here. Nona Chiarello.
Here.
Teresa Coleman. Here. Sarah Gilbert. Here. Eliza Lowe online. Christopher Morris.
Here.
Dieter Waltz not here. Jörg Zimmermann.
Yeah.
Okay. Just get organized here. All right, let's continue to oral communications, item not on the agenda. First, here in the room, does anybody have anything for oral communications? No? Let me have a look if there is somebody online. No, no hand up. Let's go to the approval of the minutes. Did everybody have a chance to take a look at them? Any edits or anything? Otherwise, can I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah. Yogi abstains. Oh, I have to say one thing. Sarah is taking minutes, right? I was tempted to ask Chris if his AI could do it, but he has already done so much.
I was hoping to connect up and let AI do it, but I didn't manage.
Okay. So let's start with committee business. The first committee business, I would welcome Town Manager Darcy Smith. And I just want to mention that this week, all the chairs were invited for a meeting with Darcy. And she was discussing budget and other things. And I was wondering, Darcy, would you like to say a few things about that meeting?
Hi, Darcy Smith, Town Manager. Yes, so we invite all the chairs to a meeting with the town. We hope to have this every quarter. So if you one day are a chair, we will include you. We're polling on general needs of the committees and also having conversations about the budgets. One thing that's important is that the town's working on our budget right now. So we need any committee recommendations by roughly May 15th. And that will be reviewed by the town council at their May 27th meeting, and then a final budget approved in June. And a couple other things came up was just coordination among different committees. And also we have an interest from Councilmember Flynn to have monthly events on around the same time every month, like the third week, for example. Woodside has like the first Friday events. We're not sure Fridays are going to be super popular. But what we're trying to do is have more committee events. So for example, your work with the Native Plant Month could be showcased. I think, the wildlife event is usually in January because that's wildlife months, but we're trying to build sort of a pattern, if you will, or a month, annual calendar of featuring different committees with different events and having them have a sort of a headliner event once a year. Also, we have the date for the town picnic, and normally there's a great conservation committee table there. I'm also trying to get other committees excited about having tables, like the Emergency Preparedness Committee and the Wildfire Prevention Committee, because those do a lot of community outreach that is very valuable. And that date, if you don't have it on your calendar, is Saturday, September 19th. So please make sure you plan on coming either to the race bike ride and the town picnic. Great.
Thank you. Then let's dive into the budget. Did everybody has a chance to look at it? I know it was sent to you relatively late. Are there any obvious questions? Otherwise, we'll just go through the items, line item by line item. Teresa.
I'll wait.
Oh. All right. So as you can see, the budget is divided into basically two separate sections. The first ones are our budget. So we have the banners there with $400. We all have it there, unless anybody has an update on the number.
So could you just clarify, Marianne, what those banners include? So I know there has been the one banner that went up for the broom pole. What else?
I don't know the details. We budget it every year, whatever comes up. And then when something comes up, we do the banner and we have to change the date. We have to change whatever we're changing. And we probably will be under at the money. Yeah. All right. Then we have the broom pool refreshments.
So we didn't have any refreshments
I
at
know.
the broom pole, and I don't think it necessarily lends itself to that. So
Okay.
that's an item that I would just raise the question, since honestly, I don't recall. I sort of remember Catherine had gone and picked up a couple things and they just sat on the bench there. I don't really think that's part of the broom pole activity. So in these times of cost consciousness, we might want to just see if we still think that's necessary.
Yeah. All I remember that we were handing water at certain times. I remember. I go back further than you.
Well, I've been doing this now for at least 5 consecutive years, if not longer, and
Yeah. So should we cancel? Should we take this out? I mean, I don't have a problem with it. So let's cross it out.
or if you want to leave it in, maybe it just doesn't need to be 500, maybe it's 150.
Okay, 150. That's fine.
Then if you want water or something.
Perfect. Okay. And then what I call the fall lecture, one in 26 and one in 27 is exactly what Darcy was just mentioning. Those events that go on the new calendar. And the 500 is I think sort of the usual, right? Yeah, okay.
So why is the second one 450?
Because it's a typo.
Okay, so you were saying 2 events, not one. So our committee would do 2 within the calendar, within the fiscal year.
Yeah. We do one per calendar year. So it would be obviously a fall event in 2026 and a spring or whatever event in 2027. Okay, and I'll change it to the 500. Then we have brochure reprints. I really don't know if this is enough. I do know that reprints will come up sooner or later. And so I would not want to take that out. All right. Chris, do you have some thoughts? I mean, printing, we're not doing a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think having printing budget is a good idea. I was saying, I think having printing budget,
Do you think 200 is enough?
I wasn't here for the previous cycle, so I don't really know how much printing we do.
Not much.
Okay, then it's probably good.
Okay.
I will say for the one thing I did go at, while not a lot of people wanted handouts and things, we did use QR codes and stuff. I do think we don't necessarily need to shove a lot of paper at people, being the conservation committee, but I mean, having a couple $100 in case we do doesn't seem crazy.
And thanks to you, we now have the QR code, which is becoming common use. So that's obviously cutting down on paper. Okay, so we'll leave that. And then I put in native plant seed for spring down on right of way if we want to do it. It's not a lot of money. I didn't put it into the spring down budget because it's not a lot of money. We have done this in the past. We might not use it, but it would be good if we want to use it that we have it in the budget. So how do you feel about that? Okay. And then let me just see that I'm going straight across. Judy gave me the table handouts because, as you just mentioned, Chris, that was your experience. So did you just say you think that's in the reprints, or should we add now something for table handouts based on your experience when we will be at the picnic? So Actually, for the picnic, we'll need some more brochures.
So they're different things.
They're
So-
different things.
So what you have previously, the line item that we just talked about was the backyard habitat and the town center brochure, the guide to the town center gardens, those reprints. Those are not what gets handed out normally, particularly at the table.
No, we do. The backyard habitat we have sitting there.
Okay, so when
Yeah.
I've been at the table, we've been handing out more of the rodenticides and some of the other things like that. I'm just saying
Okay.
they're actually.
Yeah.
Nona, correct me if I'm remembering incorrectly, but it seemed to me that when we had the table for the picnic, and we had various things that were being handed out, it went well beyond the guide to the town center planting gardens, which I don't even remember if we had that. And we may have had a couple of the backyard habitat, but we had a couple of other things, right?
Yeah, I think it just depended on what focus was at the time.
Yeah.
So, at one point we had the trap matrix and
Mhm.
another point something else, I'd have to think back, but yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a question for Darcy. Would we be allowed to use, like Teresa was mentioning, the trap matrix? We don't need to have this printed. All we need is a color printer for the picnic. Would we be allowed to come to the town center's color printer and print a few one-pagers?
Depends on how many a few is.
Uh,
Probably less-
20?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Just send it to me and we'll print it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll put in there, to be on the safe side, we'll put in $100.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Okay, okay,
And
thank
they-
you.
we
Thank you,
we
Teresa.
definitely are trying to promote more QR codes.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So rather than a big pamphlet, you can also just give them tiny things.
So the other thing that we might want to be considering, Marianne, is that when we have the table, when we have the booth and the table, it's nice. I mean, Nona always has footed the bill for all this and done it all herself, I believe, but we've had some nicer posters that were up. And I think that is it's very informative to the community. There could be a QR code right on there, but if that's what we're talking about, then we should have something in our budget that would cover us to allow for.
Yeah.
Something
Do you have an
like-
idea what a poster costs to print? You go to UPS or?
Kinko's, FedEx, I
Kinko's.
don't know, but it's
I have
probably
no idea.
more than it was a few years ago. But yeah, that would be good. Then people can just scan the QR code or take a picture of
Yeah.
the poster. Yeah.
Just saying, if we're talking budget.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Do
The
we-
question is, what number should we plug in?
Well, the $50 to $75 if you do a 3x4 or something.
Okay, so then let's just make table handouts,
300?
comma, posters, etc., 300. Okay, that will cover us.
Sorry, what was that number? I just need to get it down.
300.
300, and that includes posters.
Yeah, that is table handouts and includes posters. And then,
Make sure it's clear we're not talking banners. Just,
yes, it's clear, banners are at the top. Okay, and then Chris helped me here. I called it software subscriptions. It's in the minutes. You mentioned to us what it was, and I believe the first year is 0 or something.
Yeah, sorry, I was delinquent on getting you that. It's the same as the numbers I originally gave you. So the Google Workspace is $22 a user, and we have 2 users, so probably a little north of $500 a year to store everything. I think we all agreed the engagement platform thing, we're probably not even going to be ready to use anything like that until close enough to the next budgeting cycle that we could go try it during the free period. And so probably don't need it in this budget.
Yeah, so now Google Workspace, which is the drive, that is your trillion megabyte thing. Don't we need less? Because
We could go down to less. You could probably get that down to $300 if you'd like. Sure.
how many megabytes or whatever would that be?
I think on the plan underneath that, 2 terabytes.
I think we $200. Okay. And then I need to ask Darcy that because we have you here. So can you give us some guidance? At the moment, Chris is paying for services. Is this completely legal? Do we need to think about Because usually it's a donation and then it goes into the budget, right? It's sort of, we have never had that situation before, that some committee member would be generous enough and pay for something.
Well, he can claim it as a tax deduction if he wants to fill out the donation form, which I have, and you just submit the proof of payment to me with that form. So that's one thing.
Yeah.
But we have had this come up with other committees. One of it relates to, I'm just looking at this. You may or may not know, we have an AM radio, AM 1618, and that we will use in the event of an emergency because we have seen out here, we will lose mobile service. If you're tech savvy, you're going to have a Starlink system, which gives you that access, but you could be completely cut off. So anyways, that's a plug for the AM radio. They even sell hand crank ones apparently. But so they do have an annual subscription. And we just got that email and you could pass along that to us to pay, essentially, if that makes sense. So if it's in your committee budget, we can reimburse if it's paid by you, or you could give us the invoice to pay, whether it's a purchase order or just something that we need to pay. If that makes sense.
And so,
But I will emphasize, for any committee work that you do, where you do make a donation and you have a receipt, you can turn that into us and get the tax
And
deductible form.
let's assume he decides not to turn it in, that's okay too? That's what I want to figure out.
It's okay. Yes.
Okay, all right, so we have the answer.
Certainly can't be any worse than having things on free platforms.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you
yes.
for clarifying. That makes me feel better. Okay. So that's it then, right? It's $200, Chris. It's $200. What about the 3 URLs?
It'd be 336.
336.
Yep.
Okay, 336. And what about, I know you got some URLs, or don't we need those anymore?
Those other things I just pay for myself, and I'm just using them just like you use your word processing software. So
Okay.
yeah, don't worry. You don't need to
Okay.
worry about that.
Okay. But in case we wanted, because these were nice conservation committee, Portola Valley, in case we want them, then you would just transfer them to us, or?
Oh, you mean the domains?
Yeah, the domains.
Got it. Yeah. So each domain is probably rough and tough around like $20. So if you
20
want
bucks.
one, yeah, I'll just transfer it to you free. And then once you have to renew it, you have
Okay.
to pay $20.
Okay, let's do one domain. Okay.
Okay.
$20. Okay. All right. So, so that's all Judy and I came up with, and nobody else sent anything in. So that's the budget for us. And then we have, we're looking at a budget that clearly doesn't come out of our budget for the town center and for the open space. And so for the town center, I sent you the scope. You have a printout of the scope. That's the handout I gave you. And it's just for your information. It was put together by Megan. And Judy and I met with Justin Bixby. And these are the numbers, you know, for the planting, the tools. So this is for updating the beds is roughly 10,700. And then we know quite well the annual town center weeding. We put in 8 days, 6 crew is 33,500. Okay. And this is not coming out of our budget. It could possibly be a fundraiser. You know, we'll see. I mean, we're submitting these numbers, and then it's up to the town and the town council decide what they want to do with it. But to have a reasonably nice looking town center, when we sat down with Justin, this is what it is. Now, does anybody have some additional ideas? Did we forget something? Yes.
Question on the mowing open space, does that include the fog pond?
No, I'll get to that later. Thank you. Momentarily, I will get to that. Anything else on the town center? So everybody happy with that? Okay. And then the next section is the annual maintenance town open space parcels. And again, the bucket to be defined, that's not up to us. Maybe it's going to go from open space, maybe it's a fundraiser, whatever. So to answer Yogi's question, the first line item is mowing open space excluding Springdown. And that is going to be $9,000. And obviously the frog pond is in there. Right, Darcy? Okay, all right. And that number, I'm not questioning the number is coming from Darcy. So I'm sure this is a good number. Then we're going to the page 2, where we have the the scope of work for Springdown. Nona, Megan, and I were walking Springdown a few days ago to get a good idea what's going on. And we decided that this year we're going to stick with the 4 mowings, which we know is roughly $6,000. And while we were walking, we found a potentially sick oak tree. 2. One is dying, the other one is sick, sort of. And so I already spoke with Darcy and she's alerted. So we need to quickly have somebody out there from McClanahan, whatever, diagnose what this is, because the worst case scenario, this is something invasive. And if we don't know what it is, and if we don't fix it, the potential is we lose all the oaks out in Springdown, and then maybe if the wind goes in the right direction with the town center. So Justin is on that. He's going to this is just a sort of a number. I'm sure Justin will come up with a better one, and then treating whatever. We don't even know what it is. So, okay. All right. And then I'm jumping for the moment over the optional items. I'm going down to the partial bulrush removal. We discussed that if we want to have
I think you mean cattails.
cattails. Thank you. Minor error. Cattails is not bulrush. Okay, thank you, Nona. So the pond at the moment is full of it's very funny, cattails. And if we want to leave at least some of it open water that the ducks can swim, then I said to Justin, let's do 40 to 50% remove it. It would have to be removed when everything is dry. And we will also research that we are not overstepping fish and game or whatever. So we will check into that, but we can do that. Yeah. So at the moment, we're just assuming that we can do that. Yes.
Yeah, just, Mona, if you remember, we did that at the Frog Pond as a trial, so where we pulled out 90% of the cattails. Was very easily done. Took us 2 people a day or not even. But then we got that other invasive ground cover in. You probably remember the name. Yeah. So that now has taken over. So,
but it's a different situation. You guys have hardly any water up at the Frog Pond, whereas we have a real pond here. That might be different, no?
I would say Frog Pond is bigger in area, though maybe not as deep.
Yeah.
But I would guess it has at least as much water.
Oh, it does. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And that's again a number. Justin is going to get the final number. And then ongoing tree monitoring. This is again a number out of the hat. Justin will get it. I just thought if there is a sick tree and we can't figure out why this tree got sick, we better have some ongoing tree monitoring. And some of it we can do, but if we have to do testing, obviously we need it get it to the lab. So that's why this is in there. And then I added optional or nice to have, which would be 4 days of selective weed whacking. This year, there is no need because there is nothing to select from. And then as I saw the goats that are munching away at the priory at the moment, I figured I'll put this in so that we have the amount, that the numbers, that we know what would it cost if we bring goats. This year, actually, it would have been great for goats because everything had to go, right? Everything has seeded. The weather was so bad. We couldn't do any earlier mowing after the first mowing. It was that high, and it was mowed today, and they did a good job. I was just inspecting it. The thistles are gone. Everything is gone. So, and I already got that number from Justin. So, did I forget anything? Is there anything else you can think of that you would like to have in the scope of work for Springdown? Yes.
Okay, I just want to confirm what Justin told you and maybe add a little bit more detail to it. So for those of you who don't know, Justin Bigsby is our amazing, very talented maintenance worker 3, and he's responsible for, one person is responsible for all the landscaping, all the maintenance, open space, town properties, et cetera. So it's a lot. But I think, I'm keenly interested in our environment here and making sure that we're taking good care of it as land custodians, right? And what I have seen is that we're underinvesting. Now, we have a very constrained budget. I completely understand that, so we make do. But what I want to point out is that we had used Go Native. And do all you know what Go Native is? Okay, good. Okay, because I've done some research and they do excellent work, but they've gotten more expensive. But so originally this was going back 2017. The Conservation Committee did start a 3-year project at Springdown to encourage more native plants. So we had a $24,500 contract that was split between Springdown and the town center with 8 visits at each location. And again, Go Native was a little more affordable back then, but they have gotten more expensive. Then we've focused on just working at town center. And I think they're down to 8 days per year with crews around 10 to 14 workers. And we've kept the budget the same. I think it's been held at $24,500. So we get the same amount of work days, but smaller crews. Okay. And this year we only had Go Native for 7 days with a crew of 6. And what Justin said is that we could invest more, and what he would recommend or be open to, I shouldn't say it was a recommendation, but it was just a statement of information, if you will, was that Go Native could come out for July, August, and or September to do kind of like a summer work session and then come back in the spring. And another thing out at Springdown is that, the trees need some attention. There was a beautiful orchard there at one point, which probably wasn't native, but at least it provided some, some trees out there. And now they have not been cared for with the attention they may need. So that is a known thing. So what I hope to get out of you tonight is your recommendations for the town council, which would then be forwarded along for their consideration. And we are looking at the open space funding and seeing what options that could be used for and how the town could make better use of that. For those of you who aren't familiar, that has a fund balance that's over $10 million. Well, if we were doing a lot of research on the ballot measure. Yeah. Just know we want your recommendations. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions for me?
So I put in 8 days, 6 crew, 33,000. And I thought, is that too little?
That's too little. Yeah, that's too little. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what should we put in there then? 10 days or 12 days?
It's hard to know because we don't know their annual rate and what that will go up, right? A lot of firms increase their annual rates either 7-1 or 1-1.
Yeah, so the 8 days, 6 crew is this year's cost.
That was 24,500 this year.
They weren't here for 8 days. 7?
Maybe we got more workers. That's the thing. I'm not sure we should obsess about like days because maybe They bring
Okay.
more workers, but we just pay an hourly rate, which
Yeah.
I think is $75 an hour
I
right now.
forgot. There's a foreman and workers, yeah, yeah. So, I'm sorry, so what would you like that number? Because, the one thing, Go Native mentioned, they said, they would add 50% of work at the town center to do the job right.
Oh,
50% more, and they would add 20% to Springdown, but then they haven't worked at Springdown
Yeah.
since 2023.
so
They-
20% of the 24,500? So
Half
half of that.
of
So
that,
then you're looking at 49,000.
yeah. Okay, so should I put that number in? Okay, I
You-
think
it is
so.
Your pleasure. Yeah.
I mean, it's not our budget, okay, but unless we are bold and responsible also, nothing is going to happen.
So I'm kind of uncomfortable with this throwing
Well, we'll have a-
numbers out there. I'm comfortable with us saying we recommend based on our experience and on what has occurred over the past however many years we feel is appropriate, that this is the amount of work that we feel needs to be done.
That's
on
what
an
I
on-
just did. That's what I did.
You're throwing numbers out.
No.
Well-
I spoke with
Okay.
Justin and with Go Native about this.
Never mind.
Okay. Okay,
I think the critical thing is to have a multi-year plan because there's no point in investing a lot in one year and then not having the funds the following year to finish the project. It really takes several years to get things under control. And, you know, if we knew that there was going to be 3 years of funding or 5 years of funding or something, that we might actually say, let's get goats in there, let's take it down to the ground, let's buy seed, let's really push hard rather than sort of, you know, weeding the weeds every year. So I think that's probably the most important thing, and that the first year would probably be a bigger investment than the years after.
Yeah.
But the
This is it.
years
Yeah.
after are really crucial
Yeah.
or you've thrown away.
yeah, I think this is a really good idea. And that's the other thing when Megan and Nona, when we were out there, the one thing we want to do during, hopefully before the end of this year, is to just relook at the goals and write those down. Now, they are not going to to contradict what this is here. I think they will probably add. Yeah. And so this is a thought through start so that the town council and that they have something, because that's what they're looking at. And then we absolutely in parallel should do the 3-year plan and then say, we think whatever at the second year, it will be X less because of whatever. At the third year, it will be even better. And then the other thing I should mention, we absolutely agreed, the three of us, and I don't see why you wouldn't, that we're going to help Justin or the town to monitor how the weather is, you know, in spring, in January, February, and be of as much help as we can be so that the mowing is done at the right time. Yeah. I mean, that's why, you know, I weed whack. Well, I have help now. My 2 acres, well, whatever it is, and some of my neighbor, and I look, and then it's not the same every year, obviously. Sometimes it's the dry January, sometimes it's the wet. And we cannot expect that Justin can be as much on top of it as we can. It's unreasonable to ask. And I think this is an absolute acceptable task we should be doing. And it's going to be crucial because if we get certain grasses, weeds before they seed, the success will come. If we don't get the grasses before they seed, the failure will come. Okay. So any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, I have a question. I recall that years ago we compared our native garden here with the Woodside one. And what I'm concerned with the idea, even if it's multi-year planning, is that I would prefer to see a map on how we like to see trails going forward because we have a positive usage here compared to Woodside with all the kids and all the events that we have. So I think that we need to separate the plantings far more drastically from just a mulch trail, whether it's little signpost or otherwise, because the kids in a positive way will run around.
Actually, that's a very good point. When Judy and I were walking the town center with Justin, we said, look, it's very clear there, the people come at the whatever evening, the music evening, they're putting their chairs there. So let's just weed whack it and let's forget about it. So yes, we talked with Justin exactly about that. And there are those little trails and we're going to leave them because people will walk over it and signs don't enter is not going to work. Yeah, so we already took this into consideration and Justin knows about it. Anything else? This is really helpful. If not, then I would say we need a motion and all the good stuff and get it over with. So can I hear a motion that the budget and then the auxiliary budget suggestions are something we want to approve?
I'll
Second.
move only for the.
No, that's not
budget.
what I'm asking. I'm asking for everything.
Okay.
I'm asking for everything. Okay,
Motion to approve the two budget sections.
all the
So,
budget sections.
All the budget
Yeah.
sections with the discussed and agreed change. to the
Okay.
individual line items.
Can I hear a second?
So there were some changes.
Yeah, I have them. I'll give them to you.
Okay,
Yeah,
I tried to write them
yeah,
down,
that's too much for you. Yeah, I will give them to you.
but so shouldn't we say what those changes?
Okay, I will repeat. I will start from the top and go down. Okay. Broom Bull, we changed to 150. The spring lecture 27, we changed to 500. Table handouts, comma poster, we added 300. Under software, we added Google 2 terabyte, 360 and 396, I'm sorry. And one domain, $20.
336.
Yeah, 330.
I can't read my own handwriting. Thank you. And then going down, the annual reading is 49,000. And partial bull rush is partial cattail removal. So we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 You abstain or against? Okay, Teresa abstains. Motion carries. Thank you.
Marianne, if you can make me a co-host for a minute, that'd be interesting. Has everyone seen how they mow out there?
Yeah, I took pictures too. Okay, can you help me?
Sorry?
If I don't do this often, I forget. I should do that automatically at the beginning. Invite? Do we have to? invite? No. I'm glad
Yeah,
that
go to-
you are struggling
Come to
to
the people and then right click on me.
right click on Nona. Ah,
I'm not there. Even if. So if you right click on me, there's no. You're not logged in.
no, she must be because otherwise she wouldn't be showing up. right?
I'm logged in. I'm on the screen.
You might not be like a verified user.
Well, I had to set up my phone as a hotspot because I got bumped off the Wi-Fi here.
Maybe that's what it is.
The Wi-Fi here just. It just, I mean, I'm fine on as if I use my phone. But I give up, forget it.
Okay. Yeah, I also have some pictures. Yeah. Yeah.
Try and switch to the. If that works. Council chambers, right? All right, let's see if that works. Who knows? You see me now?
Acting like you're an unapproved user.
Okay. All right. It's a nice idea, but you can send you can send it around. Oh, you show a video after the meeting. Yeah. Thank you, Darcy. Okay. You might have an update.
Sure, I
So
can do a quick update.
Yeah.
Thanks. So on the document repository, it's still up. Teresa wins the gold star for last month. She's uploaded quite a bit of content. Oh, no, sorry, Teresa's, or you did upload some. I mean, Megan's uploaded quite a bit of content. You uploaded.
I was going to say, I tried, but I don't
You
think I
did. You
got.
successfully uploaded 10 meeting minutes.
That's great.
Great. But Megan's put a ton of content, everything that's come through my inbox, I've been adding. So it is filling. Obviously, right now with everybody in their current roles, probably of less value to them. But for anybody who comes new or when people switch roles, it's really, really helpful. And then we met once. Most of our discussion was around, I think, relevant to this. One, about how we align. I mean, the technology at the end of the day is not a solution. It's a tool, an enablement tool. And so we talked a lot about objective setting and how we align the things we're trying to do behind that objective and then add the technology onto it. And so we're going to continue on that front. And I think we said that at some point we probably would like to come with some proposals for how we might think about the next planning session for next year for the group to hear and discuss, if that's okay.
thank you. Then 5B. So I have very, very brief updates. As you know, we were stopped dead in our tracks with the fence to talk to ASCC with our fence, wildlife-friendly fence changes. Then I was talking with Dana because I had the brilliant thought, because Sarah said if we are in an ASCC meeting, it would cost money because staff is there. And I understand they don't want to spend money. So my idea then was, let's have our subcommittee meet with an ASCC subcommittee so that we can further, because there are a lot of things we know they are unanswered. And I understand I wasn't here in the last but one ASCC meeting. Dana suggested that, and Sarah said absolutely not. Now, I don't know why she would say that, because there is no staff time involved. And I will reach out to her, because we're definitely not threatening her or anything. We just want to put this as complete as possible, so then when staff does have time, that they can do the code. Okay? All right. And then the progress report, I actually have a big thank you to Chris. Chris is doing a lot of work behind the scenes, helping me with his outstanding AI. So I was working with Judy on the progress report. To refresh your memory, Sarah said she felt blindsided. She wasn't aware that we were doing this, and she wanted a progress report to show what we have been doing. And Judy and I were, thinking. Then Chris did a fantastic AI, and then it occurred to me that Rebecca is doing her monthly updates to the town council. So Chris put his AI on this thing, and I have now a really good report for Sarah that shows what Rebecca had actually been reporting to the town council. Now, what Rebecca reports to the town council is actually in the agenda packet and is common knowledge. So that might help. So that's what I'm putting together. And B2 are you remember the draft guidelines from Woodside, which we didn't get the impression that it was embraced extremely lovingly. And so we had another subcommittee meeting. It was actually only Megan and I, because everybody else couldn't make it. And we looked at it with a fresh eye. And it looks pretty, it's a pretty document, but it isn't really pertinent for Portola Valley, which Teresa was pointing out to us. You see, there, you just have to be patient. We get to it. And so we reworded it, and we put a new logic into it, and now we threw it over the fence to Chris, who is now looking with a completely fresh view. And you have already done something, but I can't open it. So you have, I don't know why. Yeah. But it's not ready to show you anyway, because all we have is text, and we want to decide, do we want, like, for example, pictures of fences, or do we want drawings? Personally, I think pictures might be more helpful, because then people see what it really looks like rather than what is just, but we'll work this out in the subcommittee. So that's that update. Let me see if I covered everything. Yeah. And then, have you seen the tip of the month? No, you haven't. I sent it to the town, but I haven't sent it yet. I got it over the weekend. Megan did a really adorable tip of the month. So it's already in the town, you know, it goes in the newsletter, and I need to put it on the forum. And then what's blooming now, there was no what's blooming now this month.
No, I was just too busy.
Yeah. Do you want some help?
I mean, if someone else would like to do it, that's great. The next thing I'd like to do is ground covers, but I also am happy to hand it over to you or someone else.
Do you want to do it together?
I don't think that's any less work.
That's not any less work.
Alone, but
Okay,
I'll see if
we'll
I can do it this month.
Think
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because it's what's a really good feature. And to be honest, when you don't have time, for example, I would suggest one thing. If you see you don't have time halfway through the month, if you let me know, and then I would just go back, because these things go back 8 years. I could go back by 8 years, look something up, and then put that out, if that's okay with you.
Well, one strategy would be to just do that.
Okay?
Yeah, you know, if you just do that every month for a while.
Okay.
See how that works.
Okay. And then when you get freed up a little bit, because your contributions are so beautiful. And maybe Chris can help me with the. Okay. All right. So it's coming back to me. That was not the intention. Temporarily. Okay. Committee updates. Let's start with open space. Nona.
Okay, so in the agenda packet was sort of a copy of the letter that the Open Space Committee sent to the town council on the 20th. And if you want to see the whole letter, you really need to go to the council's agenda packet for that meeting. I don't know why we didn't include the whole thing. Well, okay. Anyway, would it be helpful if I just summarize what the intent was? So this was a committee level decision based on an analysis of the Hawthorns area plan, that the Open Space Committee felt like there were some really serious issues with it that should make it unacceptable to the town. One of the issues is public safety. As you know, as I think everyone knows, the two main parking options now, options 9 and 10, would have the entrance and egress onto Alpine Road, either at the intersection of Alpine and Portola or at the current driveway to the caretaker's house. And both of those locations have real problems in terms of safety. The Alpine Trail would not change very much except to have a little jog to connect to the trails within the Hawthorns. And Alpine Trail needs improvement. It's not safe even as it is right now. If you used the entrance to option 9, which is the caretaker's driveway entrance, then you have to deal with bikes that are going down the bike route downhill and are going relatively fast by the time that they get there. If you use option 10 and focus on the intersection with Portola Road, that's a really heavily used intersection with pedestrian crosswalks and all kinds of things. So for a variety of reasons, it seems unsafe. The second objection was that that's the town's scenic corridor and it's part of a priority conservation area now. And even though most of either parking lot design would be above the 75-foot setback, part of it would be within the scenic setback. And moreover, there would be so much grading and cut and fill that basically that whole hillside will look different, whichever parking lot option you decide on. And it's true that the way that MidPen has envisioned the progress on that, it would be a phased parking lot design with 21 or 25, depending on the iteration of the plan, initially, parking spaces initially, but up to 50 ultimately. And that's a big area to develop. So the scenic impact is really substantial because you come down Portola Road and you hit Alpine Road and you stop, and that's the hillside you see. Everybody sees it. You see it from Triangle Park. You see it when you walk out of the hardware store or from Roberts Market. So it's a very visible aspect of the scenic corridor. And then the third thing is the conservation impact. And that really goes down to things that, obviously this committee cares about, but also things that were in the conservation easement that was made when Fred Woods III gifted the parcel to the MidPen and gave $2 million as a gift towards its stewardship. And the elements that are in the conservation easement that governed how MidPen is supposed to use it include things like no tree cutting, the cutting down or other removal of live trees except when required for safety, fire protection, or sound resource management purposes, and subject to prior approval of grantee, et cetera, is prohibited. So no tree cutting, excavation, alteration of landforms by grading or excavation of topsoil, earth, or rock is prohibited. Scenic and natural character, activities such as clearing, stripping of native vegetation, grading, or storage of materials that would clearly degrade the scenic and natural character of the real property is prohibited. So, and then there's one additional element, which is that a parking lot is permitted by the conservation easement, but it was mentioned in the context of the improved portion of the Hawthorns, and both option 9 and option 10 would intrude on the unimproved portion of the Hawthorns. So there are a lot of questions about the conservation easement, which is supposed to be enforced by the Peninsula Open Space Trust, which is the grantee. So for those three reasons, but looking beyond those three reasons, the property as a whole is just so Portola Valley. It has the history of agriculture, it has the history of settlement, and you see all of those elements blending together as you walk through the property. Most recently, we learned from a Julia Morgan expert, Dr. Karen McNeil, that one of the 4 structures that was considered significant in the historic resources study, the garage, very, very likely was a Julia Morgan structure completed in 1918. And that seems like the kind of thing that the gift of the property to Mid-Penn envisioned protecting and preserving in the future. Ideally, one would protect the big house as well, but that's probably cost prohibitive, and it may have been it may have been neglected for too long to be salvageable at this point. And that may be true of the garage as well, but it's really worth looking into because I think the town is really interested in historic preservation. And in fact, both the structures on the property and the property itself, the landscape, are listed on our historic element of the general plan as sites to be considered for protection. So the committee just thought, given all of that and the fact that it's 79 acres and it's within the town of Portola Valley, if Mid-Penn can't do it in a way that really honors the property and the intention of the donor, then maybe the town should consider trying to acquire it. And that was the other point that the letter requested. So specifically, the letter asked that the council hire an attorney to represent the town in dealing with the Hawthorne's area plan and the fact that it's unacceptable to the town in the eyes of the Open Space Committee. But secondly, that the town consider looking into acquisition of the property. So any questions?
Do we know what the market value of that space is?
So Darcy has her hand up, but I will say that it was gifted to Mid-Penn. It was first offered in 2006. The transfer was official in 2011. At the time, it was the largest private land gift that had been made to Mid-Penn, and it came with a $2 million endowment. So whether or not the town would need to or should offer something for it is kind of a separate question, but it's not like we have to compensate Mid-Penn for an acquisition price that they made.
Yeah, that's what I was basically going to say, but also that I have experience in appraisals of open space properties, and especially if they have a conservation easement which this one does, significantly limit development. And this one even limits like expansion of utilities and all sorts of things. It generally will suppress the land value to 50,000 an acre sometimes, maybe even less depending on it. Yeah. So that's one thing. Again, I said earlier, we have over $10 million in the open space fund. And I'll just go back to that part of the conversation about maintenance is that questions have been asked. How could the open space fund be spent on maintenance? That's a question. That's just a statement of facts. And that's part of why I wanted you to do this work, working closely and talking with the town staff and with Go Native to see and answer that question from an analytical perspective, just so that number is out there. Because if it is, it's 15,000 to mow, it's a little bit more to look at tree health. It's a little bit more to hand seed these areas. But when you look at a long-term spending plan, that's still a significant sum of money. So did you mention the meetings tomorrow night at 5 p.m.? Yeah.
Yeah, so Mid-Penn the board is considering the Hawthorne's area plan draft that the Planning and Natural Resources Committee put together. The meeting is 5 p.m. at Mid-Penn headquarters tomorrow, if you want to express an opinion. But if you do, you have to be sure that you are expressing your own personal opinion as a resident, not in representing any committee.
The one thing, one comment I would add to what you were saying to the parking lot, because I was thinking about most likely usage of 50 spaces. And the one thing that didn't occur to me a few weeks ago, I think bikers, once the biking community finds out that there are 50 spaces up there, you can be sure they're going to use them. And then is that the intention?
Yeah, so a number of people have asked why 50 spaces for a 79-acre parcel. Essentially, that's the same capacity as the Windy Hill parking. I mean, almost identically the same capacity. And I think the reason for that is that the long-term vision is to have trail linkages to Arrastradero and Foothills Park, and also to Portola Valley Trails and Coal Mine Ridge and stuff. So I don't want to exaggerate this, but in a sense, it's creating a parking lot to serve other places, not Hawthorne's.
Okay, well, thank you, Nora. That was very helpful. Now, the question I have, did you want us to have an official stand that we are supporting this letter? Because if that's your intention, then we would have to discuss it and have a motion and vote on if we want to support that letter.
I don't think the agenda mentions a vote in support, so I don't know that we can.
Well, I don't think we have to do that. No, we don't have to. That doesn't have to be in the agenda. That's why the whole letter is there, so that we can discuss and decide what we want to do with the letter.
Well, I leave that to others to decide, Rebecca, if that's something that we should consider. I can say that the Trails Committee, I think, has signed on to it.
Yeah.
One other committee, it might be Trails.
I mean, that was my intention. That's why I put it on the
Yes.
agenda.
I'm not sure which committee. One other committee has signed on.
Trails is aware of the letter that was brought up at the Trails meeting. That was my one point I was going to share with the group, was there was a very limited, very high level, not even discussion of that. But subsequent to the meeting, links were provided to the Trails Committee members so that they could themselves read the minutes and take a look at all the attachments, et cetera.
Yeah, so just let me.
From open space, I'm sorry, from the open space committee meeting in which the Hawthorne
Yeah.
issue was discussed. Sorry, just in case that wasn't clear.
Thank you. So it was my intention of putting this in the agenda under developments at Hawthorne. And the reason why I attached the letter and said, further information can be found on the packet is that we can have a discussion, what we just heard, and then we can. So I would start the discussion. I think this is something we should support. It strikes me as a complete no-brainer, and it's a conservation issue. And so I would recommend that we support this letter, and let's have a discussion about it. Okay. Is it a yes? Everybody is nodding their head.
I think from my side, it's a no-brainer to support that and make that statement. The bigger question is what options the town actually has. I mean, there's a lot of communication.
Yeah, that's not up to us. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I said so I think for me, it's a definite yes. Will be interesting to see how the town can or will react, if they have even a chance to react to it.
Okay.
But I think we could go on record with supporting it.
Okay. Any other comments?
Just for my edification, I mean, is this a meaningful gesture, or is it just?
Yes, I think it's a meaningful.
I'm not asking like whether it has me. I mean, literally, like, does it influence anything, or is it just a
Well,
full gesture?
I was approached by the Open Space Committee that we should do that, and they thought it would add weight.
Okay, well, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Is it
This is not my invention.
something that would be considered by someone that actually might add weight? Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
So I understand that. I philosophically don't have a problem with it. I guess my problem is that if that was the intent, as a committee member, I would like to have had the respect of being told that this is something for us to consider, and including the potential for a supporting vote on this measure. I did read it. I have read it. I actually went back and read all the minutes from the meeting and all of that because I was interested in it. But when it just comes attached to our agenda, that doesn't necessarily tell me, Marianne, that you're asking us to step back as committee members and say, you know what? Sure, there's a conservation easement. I've read that too, more than once. And so I do understand what this is. But I'm not sure that other committee members have had that opportunity or even knew that that opportunity existed. Hopefully everybody did. And if they chose to, they could. That's fine. I mean, they're all public documents. I'm not trying to say it's like anything hidden. It just, it's not, I don't support, I do support the actions the Open Space Committee is taking. I'd like to think that our combined support is more than just what feels like a token gesture tonight. It may not be, but that's how it feels to me.
Okay, thank you. Duly noted. Any other comments?
I guess I agree that I would have liked to have known that we might be voting on this support. I would have spent more time going into the details if I'd known that. And I do support this, and so I would be willing to vote
Okay.
to support it. But I think for future reference, if something like that is the intent, that it's really good to let us know.
Yeah, duly noted. I hear you. I hear you. Yeah.
I mean, one final note on that. What always surprises me lately in town is that what has been discussed and is up for vote tomorrow is known for a year plus. So why did nobody, whether it's the town or the committee, reacted to it earlier? And now again, it's like close to midnight where people wake up and committees win. I mean, the plan has been out for 2 years almost, and everybody was aware of easements on the property. So why did nobody in the powers to be actually reacted early?
I can answer that because I see it with what happened to me. Okay. So I have been sort of watching this like everybody else, watching it. And then I was at the whatever last meeting where they were saying, here is a picture of the cut and 20 parking lots first. And if they're filling up, we'll have 50. And that was the point where it actually sunk in for me what this really means. And I started getting more involved. And I think that happened to a lot of people. And then thinking back that nothing has happened, well, they have done lots of studies and spent money, I assume, for 15 years is mind-boggling. Did you want to add something?
I think it's complicated because, you know, options 9 and 10 were preceded by options 1 through 8. So this has been a very, this has been a very long haul, and it's been very contentious. And I think MidPen finally, you know, said, this is it. And maybe those are the best plans that they could come up with. I think people in town have come up with better ideas of where the parking should be. And it's not like we don't want parking. We don't want people, you know, we have enough problem with overflow from Windy Hill parking and other MidPen parking areas. And so I think the problem is, and I've learned most of this from Darcy, which is that, you know, they don't really have to respond until after the CEQA document is done. And so, you know, if nothing happens now, it will in a year. I mean, basically, that's when the town actually gets to consider this, because under the current zoning, it's residential estates, which means there would probably have to be a conditional use permit in order to go ahead with the plan. And that's when the town, the planning commission, the committees potentially get involved. It would save a year. It would be cheaper. It would be, you know, in some sense, probably better if everyone could come together ahead of going through with the CEQA document and come up with a better plan. But That's not the way it necessarily works.
Okay, so I will do better, I promise. And then I assume we could make a motion because we seem to be all in agreement that we want to support this. What would be the motion? How would we word that? Nona,
Well,
do you want to give?
Aren't we just saying that we, as a Conservation Committee, applaud the efforts the Open Space Committee has put forth on this, and we are in support of their proposals? Isn't
Yeah,
that what we're saying?
That's what we're saying. Yeah.
Okay, so moved. Second?
Second, all in favor? Okay, yes,
Or not?
yes, you can.
Okay.
Yes. Now, I just, and I didn't want to bring this up before we had voted because I didn't want to make it more complicated. I just want to, one thing went through my mind as I have been thinking a lot about that. I'm on the board of the Friends for Haddard and Wunderlich. And that is a nonprofit that was, I don't know how many years ago, formed with a pretty good endowment to renovate the Folger stable, the historical stable and the historical dairy house. So apart from what we are trying to do, maybe the town could get this property, there is nothing that would stop if we find some big pockets to have a nonprofit in addition that would actually look after the historical buildings. I just wanted to let you know that was a thought that went through my mind and it sounded actually pretty good. I can think of a few people who might want to put out $1 million or $2 million for this.
Isn't that a different situation?
Yes, it's a completely different situation. That's why I'm putting it as a comment after we voted. And now we're moving on. Okay. So Teresa, you already said your update, right? You're done.
Except to remind everyone that the horse fair is coming up on the 16th. and
Yes.
Everyone's welcome to attend.
Yes. And then Chris is now installed as a full voting committee on the wildfire preparedness, whatever. So you can report next week. And then the Springdown fiscal year proposed scope of work and the town center, we already did that when we did the budget, and you have the handout there for the town center, which I mentioned earlier. Now let's quickly get to new business. The rodenticide subcommittee has been actively working, I believe, and Nona has an update.
Actually, I think I'd like to turn it over to Chris or Sarah. We did meet on Monday, but I was an observer more than a leader on that. Chris, do you want to? Okay.
Sure. So I've been getting around to a lot of subcommittees. So I think I mentioned at our last committee meeting that Eliza and I, mostly because I was testing out a platform for a company I advise, had been mocking up basically an app that could help report dead animals or things like that. And more importantly, kind of walk people very quickly, easily through a workflow that got them to what they should actually do depending on the case. And it turns out there's quite a lot of different outcomes depending on what kind of animal and what's going on and all these things. And so we were doing it as a little side thing. And I brought up when it came up last time that we would just give an overview to that rodenticide subcommittee about it. So we walked through it and we talked about the fact that if you do put this in anyone's hand, it does have a lot of implications just in terms of who watches after it and maintains it. And as part of that discussion, I think Sarah brought up PV Connect, which most of us didn't know about. And then we went to that and it looks like PV Connect is an app, actually doesn't work anymore, but on the website, you can still submit things and it covers quite a lot of use cases. But as far as we could tell, it shunts them all over to one person who then just diligently tries to knock them off. And so I think the action out of all that was that we were going to follow up, and I can't recall the gentleman's name, but
So I contacted Scott.
Scott, that's
and,
right.
Hopefully we're going to meet with him. And basically the question I put to him is, what is the scope of questions, and reports that you're getting that you can handle? How do you handle them? And can you handle more? Because we would point more people to that solution if he really can handle more, I think, at least as a start. So
Scott from Public Works? Who is Scott?
Scott Weber?
He handles TV Connect.
Sir. Not everything, but I think he handles the ones that are on animals.
Okay.
Yeah.
We were looking through this and it seemed like he was the one responding to
Down
all these different
trees and
kinds of,
yeah.
You know,
So anyway,
So-
so we're hoping to meet with Scott in the first few days of June.
So we're suggesting something that will need more staff time.
No, we're finding out how much time it takes, what kinds of questions he really can address, and whether or not he could handle more. So I think, is that a fair statement?
I think some of it, or at least I left with the impression too, that that current workflow does pile everything on his desk, but some of those things don't actually need to be him calling. Like you potentially could offload work from him in a certain scenario. So I think just the step was just, we wanted to get educated on like, what does he actually do? Who does he call? How does that go? And then we could make an informed decision of whether we could help or whether it didn't.
Basically, the idea is to just not duplicate what he's already doing.
yeah, because, dead animal reporting is actually part of PV Connect. Which surprised us.
Eliza, do you have comments? Oh, we just
Yeah, I
lost her.
think-
No, there she is.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm here. Hi. I think Chris mostly covered it, but essentially we just want to make sure we're not reinventing the wheel. And we wanted to talk to Scott to see if he could handle us directing more residents towards this program as a like, okay, what should I do if I see a dead animal? So hopefully we'll have more information after we talk to him.
Okay. You. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Darcy, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So good question. Talk to Scott. He's knowledgeable. There's an intersection between what town does, what animal control does. And interestingly enough, our annual animal control contract is going to go to the town council May 27th. So I've been working on it. I don't know the dollar amount of how much we spend on animal control. I want to say it's between 23 and like 25,000 a year, but I consider that honestly a bargain, to be honest. Because I think they provide pretty good service. Yeah, we have the entire county uses the same animal control. And I think there's a lot of efficiencies of scale there. And we pay a percentage, and I don't remember our exact percentage, but it's less than 1% of like the entire cost. And they've been able to maintain good cost control. Yeah. But so that said, I have had to call them, like, for example, with the bat incident, and then we had another incident. They don't pick up all dead animals. So I guess I kind of want to approach this from the beginning, which is like, what does the town pick up? What does animal control pick up? What do we not pick up? And we have to call Fish and Wildlife and or someone else. Okay. But I actually pose a different question to this project, which is I often get calls about sickly animals. I got that call about the bobcat that had mange. And so I guess I'm wondering, and they also ask questions in an area that's your expertise, which is the use of rodenticide. I also heard a terrible story from a property owner about a beloved dog that passed away, and their belief was that it got access to rodenticide. So I actually posed the question more if there's a better way to track sick animals, any potential, I guess, beliefs around exposure to rodenticide, because as you know, this is a big topic in our community. And I think people sometimes just lack awareness that, and what's interesting in these cases is just that often you have very compassionate individuals in our community who would want to access an app or share the information. And then perhaps other members of maybe need some education and reminders of what's appropriate, because it's getting, it's getting out there. So I wonder if that's a different angle. as well as tracking the larger animals.
So that was kind of like, I guess, the crux of a lot of our conversation. Nona brought up the sick animals, which of course the workflow stuff could handle, because the whole idea was to take people to the right phone call. And this also could have a database behind it, which I like the data part of it, but it's a lot more maintenance. And we had a discussion around whether we were equipped to maintain that. The question I guess I have for you, for the parts that we're paying for and doing, do we have data? Because that's really part of what we were after too.
So with PV Connect, which I will say the app is not available, the company that created it doesn't offer that anymore. They're trying to phase it out. I don't know, eventually we'll probably get a replacement. It's not something we're working on right at this moment. But you can ask Scott if he has that back end data. He probably does, or we could ask the company if we can access it, because it's probably in a database somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah. And we have been using it for a while. And I will emphasize the web version works great. It's just they're not maintaining the app. So for now, it's what we're using. We don't have any timeline to replace it.
I am not complete. Oh, go ahead.
Does the town contract cover responding to, like if you see a rabid skunk in your yard?
Well,
had
I've
that
learned a lot about rabies from the bat incident. And I do believe that if you have a believed suspected rabies case, they get on that pretty fast and want to help. But I have the contract. We finally found it. So I'm happy to share that with you. And then again, the amendment, which largely just covers extending the term for another 3 years and the price that's going to the town council. But I can email you the amendment if you want to look at it.
Darcy,
Okay, I think our subcommittee would benefit from
Right.
understanding who covers what and what isn't covered.
yeah. I
can
have
al-
one.
Also just give you the contact information if you want to set up. I probably am overdue to have a meeting with, to have a joint meeting. We could do that
Yeah,
too.
that'd be great.
Ask all your questions.
I have one question, Darcy. Is that contract similar to the police contract, that it doesn't matter how many calls they get?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not based on service. It's just again based on, my guess is they're basing on our population, which is less than 1% of the whole county, but yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, actually, that answers my question. So what's the next step from what you guys are doing? You're waiting to get information from Scott?
They have a meeting in the first part of June to meet with Scott to go over what is currently covered. That's what was said.
Okay. Well, thank you. Eliza, do you want to give
Yeah.
us? Yes.
Yeah, the report on the owl box thing.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So Laurel from the Townhouse Committee of Sharon Heights reached out to the PV town manager, and then that email got forwarded to me because she's interested in putting barn owl boxes up in Sharon Heights as a way for that area to transition away from rodenticides and towards integrated pest control. So I responded to Laurel with some owl box recommendations, and I'm going to walk the property with her in June to help find the best spots for installation. And hopefully this will be a great success story. But let me know if there are any questions or concerns.
Sounds great.
No, it sounds great. And just keep at it so that it becomes a success story and we can
Yeah.
share it with the, okay. Thank you so much
Really.
for doing that, Eliza. Okay. Site reviews, tree permits. Who is going to be at the next, is everybody, how does it look for a quorum for the next meeting?
Do we have, is that date going to be okay?
Oh, I forgot to ask. Darcy, the next meeting is on election day. So we will not have the town center. The last year we couldn't. They were here. Okay, I am sorry. I forgot about that.
If the use is a town center, then it's here.
We could not use this room at the last election. All I know, I guess I can't vote.
In November, we couldn't have that meeting. on
Right,
Tuesday. because of like.
Actually, this is a good point. Maybe we should assume that we can't get this room, and then we would have two alternatives. Either we make it a special meeting and we decide on a date now, or we have it in the Buckeye room. The Buckeye room. There have been public room in the Buckeye room. Buckeye room, right? We can use the Buckeye room. So what was your preference? Changing it to maybe one Tuesday earlier or one Tuesday later and have it as a special meeting, or have it at a different location? And maybe it will happen here anyway. Different location?
Maybe keep this the same date.
Yeah. So we'll keep the date and I will find out. And then the only thing would change is the location, and that's no big deal.
Yeah.
If we can come here, we can come there. Who cannot make it? Go ahead.
Is that set up for recording?
Yes, there was a Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Hey, I always wanted to see the new owl. Okay, so last time now, who knows they cannot make the meeting on June the 2nd, which I assume is a Tuesday? Oh. Zoom, you're on vacation. You have an alternative. Who is your alternate? Yeah, there must be an alternate. We'll go with the alternate. No, it's good. Okay, so looks like we're going to have a quorum. And if there is nothing else, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.